It's becoming increasingly more apparent than ever that the whole AAA gaming developing space wants to see Black Myth Wukong fail, and to see it to have this much success out of the gate is angering a lot of people in the games development space. And that's why we're seeing article after article coming out trying to dismantle this game, this title, and saying it's all the things on the books, from racist, misogynistic, homophobic. Everything is being thrown at this title, and I think it just goes back to the symbolism of this game, where it's not supposed to succeed in the gaming industry because it's not following the rules of the gaming industry overlords, where you're supposed to pander to the smallest minority group and be subservient to the whims of those groups and whatever they want to have inside your game. And that's clearly not the case with Black Myth Wukong, where it's adhering so closely to the Chinese mythology that it's being praised to the high heavens from its home culture. And I think this is the thing we should expect when something is being made for the culture of a people, specifically in a region where that game is being developed. And I think this is a situation with Black Myth Wukong where it's shattering records at such a high rate that people are using the excuse that, oh, it's only doing that because Chinese people are buying it, acting like Chinese people aren't real people too buying video games. If they're buying over 2 million copies of this game and playing the game consistently every day, where we're seeing Steam numbers topping out at 2.4 million, these are real game players, and it's selling out the PS5 all across China. And that is just showing the dedication and impact this game has, because it's stuck so closely to the culture that it was derived from. And I think this is the situation we're seeing with Black Myth Wukong. It's showing that game developers that stick to their creed, stick to the things and roots that build upon the culture or subject of the game that you're trying to develop, that sticks to the ideals that you want to see fostered in a game, and you put that out so dedicatedly that you have the fan base follow through and purchase your game. Black Myth Wukong shows your game will be a success, and I think this is what is scaring a lot of people in the video gaming industry. And beyond that, I think it's just the beauty structure of the characters as well. If you just look at a lot of the female characters that were being derided in the first half of this game release, where a lot of reviewers who clearly didn't play the game longer than 2 hours said there was no female characters, but obviously you play this game more than 10 hours, then you notice female characters start popping up. And this kind of just shows the terrible reviewers that we had for this game, where they barely played 2 hours of the game. They probably couldn't survive the first 2 hours of the game, so they didn't even meet the beautiful female characters. But I think this is the thing that we're seeing breaking another factor within the video gaming industry, where a lot of 3D developers within the video gaming industry, when it comes to a lot of the characters that they make, a lot of the renders of a lot of the female characters, we see this happening all throughout the video gaming industry, where they say it's hard to render beautiful characters. Taking beautiful female models and making them into a game character is very difficult, and you see this easily done with Black Myth Wukong and all the female characters, where they look like exact copies of the female actresses and models that play the role. I think this is the opposite of what you see within the video gaming industry when it comes to these female models. We don't get that exact copy. We get an uglification process that has been irritating gamers for years now, and I think this is the process that we see happen so effectively throughout the industry, where we see what they did with some of the models that play the characters for Star Wars Outlaws, where they take a beautiful model and render it in such an uglified way where people are complaining about the model's looks and design. And of course, Star Wars Outlaws is one of the biggest famous examples of that. And when you see the comparison with Black Myth Wukong, it's a stark contrast where you understand, okay, you actually could have took the model and put her into the game perfectly, but you refused to do that. You actually chose to make her extremely ugly. And I think this is a situation that is also happening with Black Myth Wukong, where it's breaking all the myths around gaming that have been established by these modern day developers, where they wanted to pad their games with excuses and why they're making these female characters extremely ugly, when it's clear and apparent when you look at the Cyberpunk game and Keanu Reeves and all these other actors that are in the game. They look exactly like their male counterparts. There's no difference between the actor and the 3D model. If they can make these male characters look exactly the same, why can't they do that for the female models? And I think this is a situation we've been seeing all throughout the industry, where there's this uglification process with a lot of the models that are being hired for these games. They are being taken and downgraded to fit this role that they see more as necessary, when they feel like this is more representative of what they feel is more friendly and more associated with what they perceive as a political progressive body positivity movement, or whatever other social ideology that they're using for this uglification process. And I think this is one of the small things people complain about, where it's clearly noticeable, where they're taking some of these characters and they're just removing the beauty factors, and it's something that's clearly stated, where we can see the models and we're thinking, okay, you did this on purpose. Why would you do that? This model is actually beautiful. And I think this is a situation that is kind of a stark contrast that we're seeing with these Chinese games, or at least Black Myth Wukong currently, where it's making games that are just focused on making games. And I think that's the essential thing people are praising Black Myth Wukong for, where it's sticking so tightly to what the game was originally about, what it wanted to do, at least with the cultural aspects, with the journey to the West and the Monkey King. It did that so beautifully. That's why it's being praised. This is something that Sweet Baby Inc., all these consultancy firms, these DEI focused consultancy groups that come in and think they have a judgment over your culture, which was something that was supposed to happen allegedly with Black Myth Wukong. Sweet Baby Inc., an American consultancy firm, wanted to come over and add their 2 cents to the Chinese history and storytelling, where that doesn't even make sense. You don't even have an understanding of that, but you feel like you have a right to impose your modern day culture into the historical culture of another nation. And I think this is a situation that a lot of people hate about this current state of gaming, where we have these overlords that feel like they have to have an input in everything and ruin everything. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing play out now within the industry, where Black Myth Wukong, it's a massive success, but it's been attacked consistently for months. If you don't know about all the articles that have been written attacking this game, whether it's the bad reviews, the accusations of a misogynistic history, the claiming of failure of being silent on producing content that is appropriate for a westernized audience, making statements against feminist propaganda, all these articles coming out consistently attacking this game for over 6 to 7 months, and still coming out to this day, where there's a charged media attack against this game, where they're trying to drown it out, they're trying to spoil it, they're trying to ruin it. And it just makes you believe that, okay, these gaming companies, these social media platforms, these developers are working together to ruin a game that is ultimately one of the best games of the year. And I think this is a scary notion now, that we kind of understand that a lot of these gaming social media organizations are working hand in hand now, where you see this happening to Black Myth Wukong, you see the opposite happening with Star Wars Outlaws, where it's being forcefully pushed on everyone that this is a good game that you should probably play, when it's obviously bugged beyond belief. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing within the industry, where these are paid influencers now, these are paid reviewers, everything is being bought and paid for. And I think that is reflective of what's happening with the situation with Black Myth Wukong right now, where it is being review bombed, where it once was in the high 8s, but it's getting consistently bad reviews from people just staking their claim in the cultural war against this game. And I think it's a situation that will continue on in the future, and I'm hoping it changes, but I doubt it. We're in a tough situation as a gamer nowadays, where we really can't believe everything reviewed, read, or posted on social media now. We just have to play the games ourselves, which is an okay position to be in. Play a game that you like, maybe watch 1 or 2 reviewers that you trust, but you really can't trust anyone nowadays in this gaming social media environment for now. But tell me what you think about the situation. Do you think this beauty factor is playing a role into it? I think it is, because a lot of people are pointing out this rendering right now of a lot of these female characters, where they look amazing, and it kind of just makes the hypocrisy of the gaming characters that we're seeing nowadays seem like a very forced point nowadays, because now we're understanding that they can make these beautiful characters, but they really refuse to make them. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing play out in the video gaming industry today, where we see these beautiful models rendered in such a way where they're exactly like the versions that we see of the actors in real life. And I think that's a situation that a lot of people are understanding nowadays within the video gaming industry, where they're really doing these things on purpose for political reasonings. And I think it is showing that a lot of the influence in the industry is weighing heavy on this political faction that has control on the Western side. But you leave your comments, tell me what you think. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.